Hi, I'm Tracy Sofra and this is the Women of Wealth podcast. So 5 money lessons I have taught my daughter. This is what I want to share with you today. My family came out to Australia 54 years ago searching for a better life, freedom, security, opportunity. I was only 5 at the time, and my father's greatest gift to myself was his encouragement for independence. But you can't have independence without money, right? Money is the key to all of that. So how is it that so many girls in Australia grow up unaware of what it means to be financially independent? I'm going to share with you my top 5 tips that I've shared with my daughter. My daughter's nearly 20 now, and she's so lucky because she's been born into a country where girls have the opportunity to do whatever they aspire to. Yet I often worry if the influence of social media and this unconscious bias, gender bias, I guess, is going to take hold. And to share with you, one university study has said that by the age of 6, girls have already considered boys to be better suited to being really, really smart in managing money. Yeah. And as a mother, I often think, what can I do to change the mindset and help girls to become confident, independent, self-assured young women? One recurring thought is learning how important it is to have your own money for independence and how to earn it. And really, again, coming back to that one point, how is it that so many girls in Australia and around the world really grow up unaware of what it means to be financially independent? For me, sure, I was good at math at school, but I didn't have a clue about money, as I've shared pretty much a lot in the past. It wasn't until I had my finance degree or financial degree from accounting and financial planning, and I had my own aha moment or that moment of what the hell am I doing? And I've often shared that in my money story with everyone, that I became really aware of what it took to earn money, but not just to earn money, what to do with that money and understand the basic knowledge and concepts. And I call them the rules of money, right? So I'm going to share with you what I've learned along the way, and what I have taught my daughter along the way, so it helps her not to make the same costly mistakes that I have made in the past. So my top 5 money lessons are, you can't live on your shoes, live off your shoes if you like. You can't live buying shoes. And, I've often shared this love affair with shoes, and they say that many women talk about loving shoes, but literally I've made it a great hobby. But in a world of online everything, shopping, fast fashion, sale after sale, how many times does your inbox say, another 20% off? Maybe it's just me getting those emails. You need to unsubscribe to those, by the way. But spending $1 couldn't be easier, could it? I mean, how easy is it to just click of a button, and next minute, before you know it, you've got a new skirt, some new shoes, a handbag. It's in the mail and it's on its way. It's pretty exciting, right? It's pretty enticing, might I say, particularly to young women. Your money spent just like that in the blink of an eye, never to be spent again. And now, how much gratification have you got? Yeah. So I want to remind you of the time and effort it took to earn that dollar, and to question if it's better off saved for something more meaningful in the future, like a deposit for a house, maybe even an overseas trip. So I often say to my daughter when she says, "Mum, look at this dress, it's fantastic." And she has followed my rules of stop. Do you need it is the first question. And let's face it, we don't always need it unless there's a specific event that you've got to have a dress for. Just step away from it and have a think about it. And for every $1 that you would have spent online, just grab that money and pop it into another bank account. And it would be really interesting to see how much you save over 12 months every single time you're actually enticed to do that, because it is in your face and it is everywhere and it is so easy to do. Yeah? So think about how hard it was to earn that money, and then think about popping it into another bank account and see over the next 12 months how much you would have spent on online shopping. And I'm sure that will be quite confronting for most of you. The second thing is the magic or the horror of compound interest. There are two types of compound interest that I really want to share with you. The main one that I always talk about is the compounding of investing, right? And the power of that over a long period of time. So that's the first magic, and that comes from investing your money. But the second, slightly more horrifying type comes from using credit cards. And credit cards, I guess they're coming back into vogue again because they're so easy to get, which is another thing that the banks should really be mindful of or responsible for. But at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own actions. And as you know, I'm a self-confessed responsibility junkie, so we've got to make those decisions for ourselves. But think about this for a minute. If you have a credit card, the interest or the compound works in reverse. So just like it can work for you when you're investing, it can work in reverse if you do not pay the whole amount out and you're making the minimum repayments. That interest is adding on top of interest, and that debt is growing and growing and growing. So instead of an investment growing, that debt is growing for you. So you really, really need to be mindful of compound interest on credit cards, and they charge at a whopping 20%. When we invest, we don't get 20% returns, but when we spend on credit cards, we get 20% reverse the other way on top of each other on a continual basis. That's a recipe for disaster. So avoid using credit cards for as long as possible. The third thing that I teach my daughter is to negotiate. Negotiating is fun, right? You use these negotiating skills for a pay rise, or, well, a pay rise is really the one thing that we want to be looking for as women, and it's something that we're quite averse to because it feels uncomfortable and we're not sure we should be doing it. So we need to be a little bit more assertive. You've negotiated most of your life with mum and dad, right? So do the same in the workplace. It's the same sort of skill, and it's really nothing to be embarrassed about. It's something we should all step up to the plate for, yeah? And having that ability to do that, you've got to start somewhere. So negotiate. Negotiating is fun and fine. But on average, I just want to share this, that women earn $25,000 a year less than men. That's a huge difference over a working life, is it not? So workplace diversity and gender are finally high on the agenda in many organisations. So even more of a reason to back yourself and your skills and your value and ask for that pay rise, negotiate it and get it, because again, it's like compounding. If you earn 25% less in 1 year, imagine that 25% over the next 10, 15, 20 years, depending on your age. That's a massive impact to the end result. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable and get in front of that boss and ask for that pay rise and start negotiating. What's the worst thing they could say? No, and at least you've had the experience, and then you can go again. Everything in life is about experience and about stretching your comfort zone and about backing yourself and about progressing forward. So have fun with negotiating and see how that feels. Number 4, sort out your super. Now, you might have just started working, whether you're working part-time, whether you're working full-time, super is a part of our lives, right? And it matters a lot. Over your working lifetime, paying high fees on your super can have a significant impact. So I speak about fees, whether it's in super, whether it's in investing, no matter where, fees are something we do need to be mindful of, and it does deplete the overall growth and the contribution. Like contributions go into super. If your fees are high, the contributions aren't going to do their job as well as they would with lower fees. Yeah. So research also, let me share this with you, shows that super funds that charge 1.5% per annum, now that's really high, might I add, or more in fees, So if they charge 1.5% or more in fees, could cause a woman in her 20s or 30s to lose about $250,000 in fees by the time she retires. That's $250,000. That's a lot of coin, right? So that if that hasn't shocked you or surprised you or got you into motion, I'm not sure what will. You've got to be mindful over the long term, the impact of the small amounts, even the percentages of your superannuation in fees, again, has a massive impact. You see, that just brings me to another point of disregarding the little things. That was part of my money story too in my family. I would always hear, oh, that's $20, that's nothing. Oh, that's $5, that's nothing. Oh, that's $30, that's nothing. But guess what? It's all something, because all of those little amounts over the long time frame add up to a lot. And that is one of the recordings that I talk about, tape recordings, you can tell my age, that I've had to switch off and go, no, actually, it does make a huge difference. So that's what I'm saying here as well with the fees. Every little bit counts. Be very studious with what is going on in your super. Be mindful of the fees and get them down as much as you can, because it has that massive impact at the end of the day. So, yeah, be mindful of your super. Make your money work for you. Yeah? What do I mean by that? Your money won't do much sitting in savings earning interest, right? Even though interest rates are quite high now, leaving it there and just leaving it in cash and having the interest rate add on top of your capital is not growth over the long term. It's great to park your money that way, but you've got to invest. And investing doesn't mean savings accounts. Investing means property, shares, fixed interest and cash, whether it's through managed funds, which are actively managed through a fund manager, a team of professionals doing that for you, or whether you do it through an ETF, which is passively managed, which you can buy and sell on the stock exchange. Either way, investing is the only way to create wealth over the long term. It needs that long-term approach. Investing will help you grow your money over the years, meaning that you're going to have more in the future. So consider this. Would you rather earn 3 to 4% per annum from a savings account, or would you rather earn 7 to 8%, and being really conservative here, by the way, from investing over the long term? Which one would you take? That's not a trick question, right? It's pretty obvious, 7 to 8%. But you've got to be clear on your choice, and you've got to accept that. What's the saying? If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, the heat is that investing in property and shares and or managed funds that diversify across those asset types, they're going to go up and down. That's the nature of the beast. However, if you stick to the long-term strategy, if you do not respond to market fluctuations and everybody else talking about, oh, we're going to have a correction, things are going to go down, this is going to if you just stop and ignore the rhetoric, stick to the long-term goal, be true to yourself with your risk profile, making sure it's aligned with how your money's invested so you can sleep at night. Add to your investment on a continual basis over the long term. Let the investment do its job. Don't pull it out and think that the minute you pull it out, in my accounting world, we call that you're crystallizing the loss. The loss is solidified, and if you're not invested anymore, you do not have the ability for that investment to grow because you've pulled it out. So, you've pretty much done your dough. And as easy as all that sounds, there's a lot of emotion in being able to invest and stay invested. I get that. But again, you've got to ask yourself, has my long-term goal changed? No. Has the investments that I've invested in, have they faltered in any way? Are they going broke? Have they done the wrong thing? Like, is there something really wrong with the investments that I'm in? Generally, the answer is no. Am I responding to what is happening around me and doomsdayers and we're going to have a correction or we're going to have a war and we're going to get invaded and all that? Yes, I'm kind of responding to all that. Halt, time out, it's okay. It's just emotional. You've got to learn to manage those emotions and trust in the long term and go back to the the foundational knowledge that I talk about always in investing. Yeah, stick to the long term, keep your risk profile aligned with what you're investing in, invest across the period of that investment, make sure you're diversifying, and away you go. Yeah. And if your cash flow increases because you got a pay rise, because you negotiated, as I just mentioned, make sure you're not spending all of that pay rise. Make sure you're allocating it to the areas that you want to. Yeah, take some off the table because you've done a good job, pat yourself on the back. But at the end of the day, make sure you're investing most of it towards, whether it's a deposit for a house, whether it's for your superannuation, whatever it may be for, and stick to the tried and true methods of time frame, short term, long term, and how we approach how we invest. That's really, really important. And these days, might I also add that investing is so much easier with the online investment options that you have. So I talk about StockSpot. They are an online platform where you can simply invest in ETFs. They even ask you a series of questions, and based on your answers, they will tell you pretty much where you should be invested and give you those investment choices and then track your goals. It couldn't be easier than that. And they stick to the tried and true methods that I talk about every day about diversification and making sure the risk profile is in line, keeping fees down with ETFs, passively managed investments. I mean, StockSpot is just one, SIFE is another, and there's a plethora of other options out there. So finally, in a world where we constantly live up to standards, compare ourselves to others, whether they're, no matter where they're at and what they have and what we don't have, I'm just saying stop doing it. Stop it. It is not the way to go. It can be a never-ending cost and a lot of mental anxiety. So most of what you need, you already have, is what I tell my daughter. So it's really, really important to share that with the young women in our lives. Make sure that we are conducting ourselves in a way that we are role models to them, and hopefully that we are able to empower them on their journey and support them along the way. That's pretty powerful stuff. So make sure you subscribe now to our podcast on your favourite platform. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to sharing more of my golden nuggets with you over the series of my podcast.